Money in the Bank is now behind us, and here on TWWT, this edition, we're gonna discuss Money in the Bank. This pay-per-view basically began with the SmackDown Money in the Bank, with Dolph Ziggler coming out on top, which is to me a good move, and I think was kind of what most people speculated would probably be the most likely winner of that Money in the Bank. Wasn't the greatest Money in the Bank match, as far as the match, the whole flow of the match went, but and personnel wise, but the bottom line is Dolph Ziggler. This was his Money in the Bank. This was going to be that stepping stone that was going to kind of vault him back into the World Heavyweight Championship picture, the main event level. It's going to give him that push that everyone kind of, a lot of good people have been hoping he'd be getting soon, and criticized WWE for not giving him, but now he's got the Money in the Bank, briefcase, and he's eventually, I'm sure he'll cash it in and successfully become World Heavyweight Champion. It's gonna elevate him to that level. But certainly, I'm interested in seeing if and when he does cash in, if he can, or maybe now, even before he cashes in, even at this main event level, if he can. I want to see him in more, bigger storylines, and not having Vicky Guerrero, being his manager. I'm sure a lot of you fans agree with me that Dolph Ziggler should be more on his own, and, be in bigger profile matches. And of course, I want to see him. I want to see how good of promos he can cut. With his show-off gimmick, that's my concern with his character is if he's a face, he's been a tweener lately, depending, if he's facing Sheamus or if he's facing Del Rio or whoever. He's face or heel, it seems, depending on who he's up against. But I'll be interested in seeing if he is a face, if he does make a real face turn. Maybe his show-off gimmick might work a little bit, but him being a heel, I think would just kind of be kind of the same old kind of heel that I think we need more. There needs to be some more brutal heels, I think, like Big Show, or I think we have enough kind of show-offy or kind of heels that try to pull underhanded tricks, and we don't have enough brutality within the heels, the major heels in WWE right now. So we'll see how this affects Ziggler's character. Maybe he'll wait a little while to cash in. Maybe it'll come soon, but we'll see how it all goes with that. Of course, Sheamus beat Del Rio, which again expected. Wasn't a great match, but I can't, you can't. I won't fault Sheamus. I don't think Del Rio's that great of an in-ring worker. To me, he's kind of not much more than punches and kicks and his submission hold. But you would have, it was pretty well predicted that Sheamus would retain again, and it doesn't. It's not a bad thing at all. I don't think Del Rio. I like to see Del Rio prove more, maybe in the mid card, before he just keeps getting these pushes for this, WWE Championship matches and World Heavyweight Championship matches. It seems like that's no matter whenever he's around, it seems like that's what he's involved in all the time. And I don't buy into his gimmick. Can't really take it seriously. He bores me. I'll put it that way. And for a guy who has gotten pushed like he has, especially in 2011, that's not a good thing, and that's not a recipe for entertainment for me. So I'm hoping they do something else with Del Rio. Please WWE, keep him out of the title picture at least until he can prove himself. I mean, for Pete's sake, they moved Christian down to the Intercontinental Championship level, so that Del Rio could kind of move up. That's the impression I'm under. But I think Del Rio should be more of an Intercontinental Champion, and Christian should be elevated up. But WWE tries and fails with just putting guys right in the World Heavyweight Championship picture, and then they don't cut it. So it's as simple as that. But Sheamus, on the other hand, it'll be interesting to see if Ziggler tries to cash it in on him. For example, he tried to cash it in on him after the Sheamus and Del Rio match, of which Del Rio got hit with the briefcase, but then Sheamus nailed him with a brogue kick. But the match never got started, so Ziggler still has his Money in the Bank case. So obviously, but it'll be interesting to see down the road if the feud between them two continues, sort of in a way. They sort of go back and forth between Del Rio and Ziggler as far as Sheamus's opponents go lately. Hoping they have more promo work for those guys or something, because they don't seem to have that for the World Heavyweight Championship lately. And to me, Sheamus is good on the mic. He can, and I want Ziggler to have more of a chance to shine. I want to see what he can do. See if he can be in a deeper storyline than I'm tired of Jack Swagger or Vicky. Give me this this match, or he needs to be in something deeper, before you can really get to learn his potential as far as mic work goes. And he can wrestle well, so hopefully maybe his gimmick will get better. So, if he's a face, maybe that might work better. But again, his heel gimmick, I just don't totally think that it'll work with, especially, if he's working against Sheamus. I just don't see, if it's a half decent gimmick, really, it could be better. So we'll see what how it continues. We'll see if it kind of waits with the Money in the Bank briefcase, and maybe Sheamus will have another opponent for SummerSlam, or who knows. We'll wait and see with that on the SmackDown side of things. Other than that, we had a few, not as big matches. We had tag team matches with, we had a Divas tag team match, and then other tag team match, TWW getting involved, him getting splashed with water, kind of more filler kind of matches. We had another Ryback handicap match. But this time with his opponents, this time we saw him take some bumps. We saw him, take a few minutes of getting beat up for a change. The most we've seen him get beat up, and yet, as far as the Ryback gimmick goes. So it'll be interesting. Just maybe hopefully they're starting to, hopefully they're going to get him more involved in more than just squash matches. I guess we got to be patient with what they're doing with Ryback, because it seems like really taking baby steps. They're really taking it slow. I think a little slower than they should be as far as varying what he does, varying what's done to him. But for a change, we saw him take some punishment. Nothing serious, but and then of course, but he comes back and he gets the win. But so it'll be interesting to see. Maybe in the hopefully in the coming month they do anything else, but might just be the same old story with Ryback for another month until SummerSlam. We'll see. But SummerSlam being one of the big four pay-per-views as they call them, could be a good chance to maybe use him in a better bigger way than just another handicap match. Or it's not really important, but I don't know. We'll wait and see as far as the whole Ryback progression, the slow, gradual progression of Ryback goes. Then we had the WWE Championship match, which I'm going to tell you right now, it should have been the main event. It was the match. It was the match of the night. It seemed suddenly it seems like out of nowhere they kind of just made it a no disqualification match. Who knows what suddenly, but it became a no disqualification match kind of out of the blue. AJ special guest referee, of course. Now early on in the match, AJ got knocked off the apron, after Daniel Bryan pushed CM Punk into her, and she left the, she was kind of escorted out of the ring for a while, and I was figuring she was going to come back, and eventually she did. But this kind of gave them gave a chance to kind of get the whole AJ thing, maybe get the focus off AJ a little bit, and get more focus on Daniel Bryan and CM Punk wrestling, which was a good thing because wrestle they did. I was a little surprised. I thought this match was going to be more wrapped around the whole AJ story, but there was more technical wrestling than I thought there would be, and there was some action outside of the ring. There was some brawling. There were weapons. I mean, this match, it had everything but the kitchen sink in it. I mean, it was good. There was, again, good outside of the ring action for a while. There was good weapon maneuvers and good moments in the match. And then AJ eventually made her way back and kind of kicked the referee out, the substitute referee, and AJ was back in control as referee. And that's where then it started to get interesting again. That's where the whole storyline, the triangle or whatever they want to call it, that's where that started to come back into play. And AJ she'd get a chair and put it in the middle of the ring when Daniel Bryan and CM Punk were opposite corners, and she'd toy with him a little bit, and she'd stand in front of the chair when CM Punk put it in the corner, and he wanted to put Daniel Bryan in the chair, but AJ was standing there. It was good playing around by AJ that you kind of expect. But again, up to that point, we had a lot of good brawling and good technical work, weapons, so it worked out. And AJ eventually got there was a table that was put into play, and that's where the match was getting a little more. Once the table was put into play, it was, the finish was looming, and it was a little bit back and forth at that point. Both guys kind of working on each other at the corner, on top of the corner, trying to put the other through the table. AJ was kind of watching and, in suspense. You weren't quite sure what was going through her head, but once Daniel Bryan got put through the table by CM Punk, kind of like a back, kind of atomic drop, kind of revert, back on the back, I guess you want to call it, through the table. Pretty good, sort of good old oh my god moment. And but then AJ didn't, she didn't look like she wanted to count the pin, but she counted it fairly, and she was pretty fair throughout the whole match. As a referee, she didn't take any sides, but she looked disappointed. That she counted the pin. Basically ended the match with CM Punk victorious. She didn't look happy from there on out. She looked pretty reluctant to, but she called it down the middle. Even though she played around with them a little bit, she called her pinfalls down the middle. She called that one down the middle. And as CM Punk was celebrating, the interesting part, ending part there was, CM Punk celebrating, going to, the corners, celebrating, and kind of just walking by AJ as if she wasn't there. And AJ didn't look too happy about that, and, right away, I thought, this is going to continue. Obviously it is. For the most part, with this story, they're finding, different ways to make it good. And I think this match was successful. Again, that ending part was leaving me, AJ's reaction to CM Punk winning, and how CM Punk kind of just ignored her, entirely. It's making me look forward to the next Raw, specifically their part of it. Again, in recent weeks, the past couple weeks, the whole CM Punk and AJ and Daniel Bryan storyline on Raw, it's kind of taken up the beginning and the end of Raw. It's as if it's been the featured storyline, with some segments interspersed throughout the middle of Raw too. But which was a good thing. But it still wasn't enough, I guess, to make for this to be the main event of the pay-per-view, and it should have been. Having said how, the match was good, main event worthy for sure. With the a lot of the praise that I give this match, now let me furthermore explain why the Daniel Bryan and Punk match should have been the main event. Because the Raw Money in the Bank match with featuring all former WWE champions was a disappointment. I'm gonna say that straight up. Now, it had its moments. On paper, it sounded good, especially with Miz kind of entering with a somewhat new look. I think looks a little better. I think maybe he should grow his beard out a little more. That's just me. Maybe if his taunts and some of his mannerisms change and become a little more serious, and then maybe I'd get behind him more. But anyhow, Miz ended the match earlier in the night with Kane, Big Show, Chris Jericho, and of course John Cena. you know, this I'm going to tell you right now, this match was destined to fail, and you know, because in the weeks leading up to this pay-per-view, there was only like one promo. I mean, where everyone else kind of, where like Chris Jericho gotten, you know, more say in what the money, you know, his approach to the Money in the Bank, but each week it seemed like Cena was the one, you know, cutting, you know, kind of repeating what he was saying, you know, his drive to, you know, for money, being, you know, the Money in the Bank winner, and of course, last week's Raw, Cena was the one who was the last man standing with the ladder, holding him. So I kind of had a bad feeling. Maybe some might say it's bad, but I had a bad feeling that Cena was going to win, because the way they just set everything up, it's like, well, who else is going to win? I mean, why would it, you know, given, you know, it seems like Cena had the most reason to win, because, you know, the way, the promos that he was cutting, you know, it seemed like the Money in the Bank was mostly about John Cena, unfortunately, leading up to it, and it kind of was. It was also about him stopping the unstoppable Big Show, which I've criticized before, considering he kind of beat him in the steel cage match, whether or not people interfered or not. But once again, you know, Big Show was kind of ganged up on early on. I mean, after kind of running things in the ring the way he did, then it kind of just became like a handicap match. He got all these ladders tossed on him, and, you know, then eventually he came out of that pile of ladders, but, you know, leading up to it, it was just, him kind of dominating people in the ring. But other than that, I wasn't too impressed with the rest of the match. To me, Big Show looked the best, and Chris Jericho. They were pretty well on point, I would think. And, you know, I mean, Kane did, you know, he did his part, but you knew Kane wasn't going to win. I mean, why would they have? And The Miz, he just out of the blue kind of just came back and got thrown in the match. You wouldn't think he would win either. But you know, eventually, you know, it got interesting with points with Chris Jericho hanging on to the briefcase, you know, and kind of being suspended in midair, you know, and eventually Big Show got out this like, I don't know what you want to call it. It was like twice as thick as a, you know, typical ladder. It looked like a ladder attached to a, you know, with sandwiching another ladder, which was pretty interesting. I mean, it looked like it was pretty heavy. I mean, even Big Show, as strong as he is, it looked like he had a hard time getting it in the ring, but setting it up. But you know, eventually he set up that gigantic ladder, which was neat. It provided a new, you know, neat little surprise to the match. A little bit of humor. And I was crossing my, you know, I was crossing my fingers later on in the match when Big Show eventually, you know, was up there. He started to knock people off, and it looked like Big Show may have been in the clear to win it. But then Cena came back up. Not long before that, Chris Jericho was like hanging on for a couple minutes, kind of in a, you know, submission hold. But then, you know, eventually Cena made his way back up to the ladder, and you know, looked like Big Show was trying to throw punches at him, but Cena had a hold of the case and hit him a couple times, and then it kind of just came loose on its own. Now, a lot of people speculate, was this a botch? Was Cena supposed, was Cena not supposed to rip the case off there? I hardly doubt it. And I'll tell you why. His music played, within a couple, his music, it's like it was, like they were ready to play, they were ready to start playing his music. Because they didn't hesitate to, once it came loose. And again, the build up to this match, it seemed like Cena was the one, destined to win it. And unfortunately, to me, he did. And I say unfortunately because this was Chris Jericho's, fourth Money in the Bank match? They said how he invented it. This is Big Show's, however many they said. Kane's won it before, and I didn't think he would win anyways. Miz kind of already won it too. So, again, I've said it before, it should have been Big Show or Jericho to win. I mean, they're at the tail end of their career, so it seems. And I've said before, Cena's, they're 35 years old. I mean, he still is, we still have probably another 5 to 10 years of, same old Cena anyways. Why couldn't, and his first Money in the Bank, too, and he wins it. I don't agree with that. And, it just seems like another Super Cena kind of win. I'm not someone who uses that term too often, but I can kind of see, what that side, I can really kind of, give a nod to that side of the Cena fence. Not only that, I mean, when he pulled down the Money in the Bank, I hate this. I mean, it looked like he was, the way he celebrated, and I mean, they even showed a replay of him celebrating after, they even showed a replay of him just holding the case and his reaction. I mean, the look on his face, and I mean, he looked like a 15-year-old, who's just got his first, porno magazine or something. I can't buy into Cena's character. It gets really goofy at times, and it really just turned me off from the pay-per-view and the match. Really disappointing in the ending there. And it just seems like Cena was once again being fed, another accolade that, I'm sure could have waited. I mean, again, Chris Jericho, his fourth Money in the Bank match, and they don't give it to him. Even with his, his schedule, I mean, who cares? I mean, again, his fourth Money in the Bank match, Big Show's however many, fifth, I don't know how many they said, it seems first, and he wins it. I mean, again, recent months, just seems like since that Rock loss, his loss to The Rock, it seems like they've really been trying to rebuild Cena, Super Cena in a way, I will agree with. But I mean, I really don't think it was botched. I mean, again, they showed a replay of him celebrating with the money. They showed a replay of him just holding the Money in the Bank case, looking at the camera. I mean, come on. They don't. When do they do that for anyone else? It was clearly, it was clearly a plan for Cena to win. If there's any kind of botch, it was that the briefcase came loose one hit too early, maybe, or whatever. But I'm pretty sure it was meant to go in Cena's direction, the match. And the match, as far as the match itself, it was maybe 20 minutes at most, if that, until, counting after, from the point the bell rang to when the match ended. It was, look at the clock, and it was, 10:50 Eastern time. Another short-lived match, it seems. Short-lived main event. Maybe, I doubt it, but maybe there's an outside chance that Cena will be the first one to unsuccessfully try to cash in his Money in the Bank and lose his match when he tries to cash in. But I mean, again, this is John Cena we're talking about. I doubt that'll happen, but you never know. We'll see. Some speculate the 1000th episode of Raw, he might use his briefcase, or and that The Rock might get involved somehow. But I don't think Rock's just gonna come back on the 1000th episode of Raw and just get a title match right away. We'll see how that shoots up. That's another thing. Disappointed with the ending, the main event. Should have been Punk and Bryan. I'll tell you that right now. But Cena for like, I don't know, the 5th, 6th, 7th time in a row is in a main event's a pay-per-view. So that's how it goes, I guess. I give this a mixed review, maybe a 3 out of 5 star review. It was a pretty predictable pay-per-view, to say the least. And disappointing ending. Cena's, goofy antics at the end of the match again. I don't buy into his character right now. And I haven't bought into his character for a while. Just a lot of more goofing around. This time with the Money in the case in hand, but we'll see where Raw goes from here. And when these guys try to cash in the Money in the Money in the Bank cases. That'll do it for TWS and Talk. I will keep you posted with Raw. Keep up to speed with that, and stay tuned for that. And thanks for watching this edition of TWS and Talk.